Shalom. Call Haloyamla Yahapwa, Bahasham Yahapushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash, Brakata Yahapwa, Brakata Yahapushai, Brakata Racha Kodash, Bahasham Yahapushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Shalom, a double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elders in the Akim and the Akwa. Shalom. Want to go into a quick video. Title of the video might be, Texas Governor Abbott labels Mexican cartels terrorists. That's kind of a long title, but that's the name of this article here. And the Texas Governor, Greg Abbott, it says Texas Governor steps up, designates Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations, orders state law enforcement to take action. Now they're praising him, saying he's stepping up. And, they stand up for Satan, because the so-called white race, their moving and energy is after the Satan. And so they praising him, saying he's stepping up. He's stepping up in the name of Satan and wickedness. And so that just brings a precept to mind. And the hopeful elect, the elder apostles and elders and teachers, prophets, teachers of the word. This is what we're doing, because the Most High asked in Psalms 94:16, who will rise up, like they just said, stand up. Basically, who will stand up for me against the evildoers? Or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? Doing these videos, teaching, we're standing up against the workers of iniquity, who are the people that praise themselves for stepping up for Satan. Because this is not their land to be stepping up and labeling something, although the group that they're referencing, talking about the cartel, they're all wicked as well. But for them to, quote unquote, step up and label somebody terrorist is a hypocrisy at its apex. So we'll go ahead and start reading. It says, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott is tired of waiting on the Biden regime, to secure the border, because he knows that's not going to happen. If Trump, who won his presidency off of the hatred of the northern kingdom of the so-called Mexicans, who are the tribe of Issachar, saying building a wall, if he won his election off of hate of the Israelites, then how much more? And he didn't build the wall; he still didn't build it. How much? And he didn't secure the border, which he won his presidency off of that promise, which they always make all these lies during their campaigns, and once they get in, put their feet up and just rack in the dollars and all the benefits of that office. And how much less will Biden come through and do something, because he's all about the chaos. He don't care about the wall and securing it like that. He just care about oppressing. They care about throwing the tribe of Issachar in detention centers down there, but not truly securing anything. And that's quote unquote how you gonna secure something that's theirs anyway, So it's just all, just backwards and upside down, because that's his spirit. So keep reading on. It says, as such, he is taking bold new action on his own to protect Texans from an onslaught of illegal aliens and deadly fentanyl smuggling. Well, we already know who the true illegal aliens are. That's the so-called white race, beginning with Kilifer, or aka Christopher Columbus, and all of his pilgrim, murderous, thieving, enslaving, brethren. On Wednesday, Abbott announced that he has signed an executive order designating the Mexico-based cartels as terrorist organizations, while also empowering the Texas Department of Public Safety to take appropriate action to secure the border. So we know that the root word of terrorist is terror, and that's a group, that's people basically that instills terror and fear upon other people. So we know that the so-called white race are the true terrorists and have been terrorizing the Israelites, so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? So it's just just hypocrisy. as the phrase goes, calling the pot calling the kettle black, right? So now I'm not condoning anything that the drug cartel, whoever Mexican cartels are doing, whatever they're doing, it's all wicked. But just to hear the hypocrisy and the pride of these people is just, it's a great vexation of the mind and spirit. And it says fentanyl or fentanyl is a clandestine killer, and Texans are victimized by Mexican cartels that produce and import it. Today, I issued an executive order designating cartels as terrorist organizations and directed Texas DPS to take immediate action to disrupt cartel and gang activity, Abbott noted on Twitter. Obviously, it's criminal activity going on, it's wickedness happening, so that's the only thing that's accurate and true about that. But when he want to talk about these chemicals and all of these drugs, who is the chief drug dealer on earth? The so-called white man, Esau Edom, through the pharmacy. When he get the difference is that they can make money. They're making money off of pharmacy, which is sorcery and witchcraft. When I did a video a while back breaking down witchcraft in the Bible, and it goes into Greek word pharmakia, which means is where they get the word pharmacy comes from a Greek word name which is pharmakia, which is goes into sorcery and witchcraft. And when you drive by your neighborhood Walgreens and you see the Walgreens sign, or you can just Google it right now and go to the images. Google Walgreens sign, and then click on images, and you'll see an image, and then you'll see a pot with a spoon sticking out of it. That's a witch's cauldron with a spoon sticking out. The ancient, like you see in old school cartoons, with a big pie, a witch over a pie with a big ass spoon. That's witchcraft. That's what pharmacy is. They putting a bunch of chemicals together, which is, now we know some things that and it may have some kind of they have some things that they come up with, but it's all witchcraft and sorcery because it's the pharmacy industry basically is to medicate and not cure, and it's all about a great money. It's great profit it's a great profit sector of America, one of its pillars. And I did video speaking on it. The 4 pillars of America is big tech, which is big technology, big government, big media, which is the media, the god of illusion, and then big pharmacy. And if you want to add a 5th, you can say big military. You can say military, but technology, the military, and all of that the military kind of basically falls into the technology because of the technology with the advancements in the technology and advanced modern warfare through the technology, right? So that's what that is. And so this country 4 pillars, and one of their main pillars is that, because when they advertise the pharmacy, the medications on TV, they tell you about what they are trying to help you cure and get through whatever illness it is they're trying to say they got a remedy for. But then after that, they list, it's like fast forward talking, running down all of the worst symptoms that develop from taking those medicines, and that's because it's witchcraft and sorcery, and is it's of Satan and not the Most High. So they want to label, and the cartels got drugs and pharmacy. They're not, that cartel money isn't being funneled through the pharmacy banks and profits. So that's why they labeling them as terrorists and and everything. So just want to kind of just go into that a little bit. Now, if you want to read this article, I'm gonna finish it up. I'll leave the link in the description box. And so, real quick, also, they want to talk about terrorists. So right here is an article here as well. I'll leave this in the description as well. It says, why isn't the KKK designated as a terrorist organization? Anonymous dropped a list of more than 1,000 alleged members of the Ku Klux Klan today and there are worries that vigilantes might take justice into their own hands, as well as concerns that the unvetted information might prove to be false. But what if the list turns out to be legitimate? Association with a U.S. hate group is not illegal, and despite terrorizing minorities, gays, Jews, and Catholics, so let's go back. So, minorities, that's talking about those are the real Israelites, the real Jews with the so called blacks, and the rest of the 12 tribes, so called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Those are the true Israelites. The gays and then the Jews, they referencing here is the Jewish people, which are the identity thief, Jewish man, and Catholics for over a century, committing atrocities. Because we know who the KKK truly was created for way back. The origins was all about terrorizing the Israelites over here and doing physical slavery. And now that we are more mentally enslaved and don't know who our enemies is and don't know who our true nationality is, they don't need to be, the KKK don't need to be as forthcoming with their terrorism as much anymore, because we so lost. We knew who we were more free mentally and spiritually then in physical bondage, because we knew who we were and we knew who the enemy was. Now we don't. Now it's the opposite. We don't know who we are and we don't know who our enemy is. And then when we tell our people who the enemy is and who we are, they fight you and get proud and get contentious, because first and foremost, the Most High didn't give them the spirit to understand that. It says committing atrocities designed to go in to induce a state of terror among the public. The Klan is not designated as a terrorist organization. Why is that? So I just want to go into that because it's the blatant hypocrisy. They quick to label anybody else terrorist, but they're lapdogs, the KKK, which are heavily throughout the police departments and other political organizations and CIA, FBI, and they're filtered all. They're all throughout the organizations and the fabric that runs and operates within the society, and the also within the Masonic, Illuminati, lower level members as well. So they're not going to label the KKKs, which blatantly induce terror and fear by literally killing us, but they're not terrorists. But they quick to label everybody else terrorists because that's their lapdogs, like I say, right? And foot soldiers. So I'll leave these two articles in the description. Y'all can read these, the rest of them if you want. And we're going to go ahead and get some precepts and close out. So we'll start at Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine. That's not literal wine. That's philosophical wine from Satan. He is a proud man, and no one is more proud than Esau, Edom, the so-called white race. Neither keepeth at home. Now that's the point I want to get in this precept in particular. Neither keepeth at home, because what? He's in land that's not his, that he stole, and then now he's claiming that the other people that's coming up across the borders he falsely created, and now saying that they're illegal aliens when he's the illegal alien, so he don't keep it home. He's supposed to be back over in those caves over there in Petra. That's his homeland in those rocks. Just Google the word Petra, Petra, and look up the images. The images is the same architecture as the White House, the columns and the buildings and stuff. That's where they belong, back over in those rocks that they will cave their homes into. They carve their homes out of. So he didn't keep it home. He's always in everybody else's borders and stealing and taking over. He who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, because everywhere he go, mass destruction and death ensues under their god Satan, and cannot be satisfied. They have an insatiable appetite. They can't have enough. But gathereth unto him all nations. This is why it's Babylon the Great. This is the ancient Babylonian Empire. What happened During the ancient Babylonian Empire, Nimrod, he had all nations unto him, and it was all mass confusion. And they conspired to do wickedness against the Most High, and the Most High confused their languages, and that's where he scattered. And everybody had their own languages at that time when they were trying to build the Tower of Babel to ascend into heaven, in their wickedness and their pride. And that's the same thing Esau does today, have everybody gathered to him. All nations are over here in the melting pot of America. And heapeth to him all people. And so we'll go drop down to verse 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. The iniquity is sin and crime and wickedness. So woe unto him, woe means destruction. To him that buildeth a town with blood. And how did he get America? Through blood. He shed the blood of the northern kingdom, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, and then rounded up the so-called blacks and tribe of Benjamin, which is so-called Jamaicans and all throughout the Caribbean islands, and the tribe of Levi, the Haitians, so-called Haitians, rounded us up off of the west coast of Africa and brought us over here and built their city, Babylon the Great, on top of our brothers' blood through slavery, forced bondage, which was a prophecy that came to pass. Deuteronomy 28:68. So from there we'll go to Job chapter 20 and verse 5. That the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Verse 6, though his excellently mount up to the heavens, and his head reach into the clouds, that's mentally and spiritually with his pride, blaspheming the Most High, and through his technology, big tech, with his aircraft, airplanes and fighter jets and all of that, right? And his head reaching to the clouds. Verse 7, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. This is parabolically talking about, and this is a dark saying speaking about Esau, so-called white race. He shall perish like his own dung. So what happens with dung? That's when you go to the restroom, right? And then it's gone. So he's going to perish forever like his own dung. Because he have all these riches and all of this technology, then all of it's going to be gone just like that. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? Verse 8, he shall fly away as a dream. When you have a dream, you can never remember it. The more the day goes on, you forget it more and more, and then you don't remember that dream. Most cases, you don't remember that dream. In rare instances, you can recall a dream, but certain pieces, certain key pieces that were just so out, that just stands out, so that was just so intense. But unless when you wake up and you hurry up and write it down immediately, you're gonna forget that dream. So that's what the Most High letting us know, that Esau Edom, he's gonna perish away like dung, and he's gonna disappear like a dream, and he's gonna be like he never existed. He shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. Yeah, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. Verse 9, the eye also which saw him shall see him no more. So we're not going to see him anymore. Once he, go ahead and repay what he's done and serve his captivity. And that's righteous judgment. So he has to restore what he took. And double time on that, as prophesied in Revelation. It said, yeah, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. Verse 9, the eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. So, that Esau Edom, he's going to fade away for good, for eternity. After he first, after he pays his dues. Let's go ahead and just get it real quick. So right here, Revelation 18:6, reward. Let's see, Revelation 8:5, as we just read in Job, That is, he mounted up to the heavens, and his pride and blasphemy, his sins and crimes has extended all the way up into the heavens as well. So this is more extended on that. Revelation 18:5, for her sins have reached into heaven. That's the whore of Babylon, America. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, hath remembered her iniquities. So they say, the law's done away with. Iniquity is breaking the law. So all he does is sin against the commandments of the Most High. So the Most High, he's recorded everything, and he's going to remember it and pay her back when he sends his only begotten son, Yahushai. Verse 6, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. See, and that's she got America, so-called white man, the Esau Edom. The Most High says right here, we're going to reward her, the whore, as they've rewarded us, meaning do unto them as they done unto us, and double unto her double according to her works, according to her wickedness. She's going to have to do that and pay that back double time. We served 500 years of slavery over here. When you combine the Northern Kingdom around 1492 and then the Southern Kingdom in 1619, we've been over here for 500 years. The Israelites have been catching hell in slavery and captivity and oppression and murder from Esau Edom for 500 years. So they're going to pay, and so we're going to reward into her double. They're going to have to serve 1,000 years and then get wiped out off the earth after they serve and restore what they destroyed. It says, and double unto her double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled to her double. So she got to drink a double portion for the wickedness that she did, because the so-called white man, he goes hard in his wickedness, and that's that cup. Let's see, Lamentations 4 and okay, there it is. So Lamentations 4:21 says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, so-called white man, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. Meaning you're going to be made bare, and they're going to go into that captivity. And that's a prophecy. We were just reading that in Revelation 18. So that proves that's talking about Edom. We've been drinking of the cup of the fury of the Most High, because it's been righteous judgment. The Israelites, he's punishing us not for our destruction, but for our correction and chastening for a season. And Esau is kicking our ass for a season, and now it's going to get flipped. And Esau, he's going to drink that cup, and he's going to have to drink down the just punishments and judgments that the Most High has to return upon Esau's head. So we'll get real quick, go to Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So that's what happened. They've gotten this country by unrighteous dealings. How's that unrighteous dealing? One of them is those peace treaties that the so-called white man created with the natives. And he broke all of the treaties, right? And stabbed the natives in the back and the Latinos in the back and stole their land. So it's going to get translated back into the Israelites, the rulership of the earth. And this is all, but that's all was prophecy. We go to Genesis 49 and 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him. Gad is the so-called Native Americans or North American Indians. So this is the prophetic chapter here in Genesis 49 of what's going to befall the 12 tribes in the last days. So the end was prophesied from the beginning, even in Genesis. So Gad, the troop shall overcome him. So that troop is going into an army. So the pilgrims, so-called white man, Esau Edomites, overcame the North American Indians, which is the tribe of Gad. But he shall overcome at the last, because they called it the white man, so-called white man, called it what? Manifest destiny. And like I said, manifest destiny has a part two, and the part two is on the back end of this verse. He says, but the Most High says, the Most High Yahweh says, but he shall overcome at the last. So that's manifest destiny part two, when Yahweh Shai cracked the clouds and return and beam up the Israelites, and Gad's going to get his righteous recompense upon Esau Edom, along with the rest of the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. So now we'll go to Obadiah chapter 1 and 10. Only one chapter, Obadiah verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So when are going to be cut off forever? After they serve that double portion of that cup that they're going to get double into them for destroying the Israelites and wearing out the saints, who are the Israelites. And then the Most High said they're going to be cut off. And it's not unrighteous for the Most High to do this, because why? He says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. Jacob's name became Israel, the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. And then when we drop down to verse 18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. So that encompasses the whole 12 tribes, because we know Joseph had two tribes that he had with Ephraim and Manasseh, and Jacob is the remaining 10 tribes, so that's including all 12 tribes here. So why is the Most High saying that Israel going to be a fire and a flame, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau, so-called white race, for stubble? Fire, the end result of fire consuming something, the end of it is stubble. So that lets you know that the Israelites are going to burn Esau, so-called white race, with fire. That's not my words. It's right here in the scriptures. The house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them. When you kindle something, that's fire igniting. And devour them. When you devour something, that's completely consuming them. And so, reading on, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, not a portion remaining. It says, there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. Who's the house of Esau? Esau is the father of the Edomites. Who are the Edomites? The so-called white race. And that's why they try to hide away that biblical identity that they have. For the Lord Yahweh, but Hashem Yahweh Shai has spoken it. See, I haven't spoken it. The Lord Yahweh spoke it. So that's a prophecy that's going to happen in the end. After we just read the other precepts, after they serve double portion and drinking that cup, or the double portion of that cup. And the Gad and the Israelites overcoming at the last. And after they serve their slavery, reward her as she has rewarded thee. She got to serve that slavery. They put us in slavery, destroyed us, and kicked our ass, and it's going to return upon their head in double time, because they've been exceedingly wicked in it. So they've been so evil and wicked, they got to receive a double portion, and then their end is right here, of fire. And the Most High say, not any remaining. So that means not one. So that's, it's a pretty intense judgment that Esau has coming. And that's not my words, it's the Bible. You can't get mad at the messenger. You can only get mad if you are mad, you're mad at the Most High. Because all I'm doing is reading. I didn't know any of this until a few years ago. This was written thousands of years ago. Ezekiel 35 and verse 5. They'll never read this to you in the church. We grew up in the church all our life, right? And then we didn't hear none of these precepts because they protect Esau, Edom. That shows you right there. He's the great deceiver and chameleon. And these wicked pastors with their shaved faces and shaved heads are in bed with Esau, Edom, the modern day Pharisees, wicked Pharisees. Because you had some Pharisees that was righteous as well, but most of them were wicked. And that's the lot of the modern day pastors, false shepherds today, and they're going to have their part in the lake of fire as well, with Esau Edom, and all that do wickedly, the ungodly 2/3 of Israel as well. So Ezekiel 35:5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. That's why I say Esau Edom has gone extra hard. So when you look at verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. So we know that this is a prophecy. The Most High is talking about the so-called white race. And just to get who Seir is, Seir equals hairy or shaggy, just to bring it out. Patriarch of the Orites, the inhabitants of Edom, before the descendants of Esau, the Edomites. So, and B, the land of Edom, south of the Dead Sea, a mountain range in Edom, extending from the Dead Sea to the Hellenic Gulf. So Esau Edom took over because originally Seir was occupied by a Hamitic tribe. He went in, Esau went over there and took over it, and that became his land, like the Israelites took over Jerusalem from the Hamitic tribe, and that became our land, flowing with milk and honey. And now that's our land. And so that's our Mount Zion in Jerusalem, and Seir is Mount Seir is Esau Edom's land now. That's his mount. So in verse 5 again, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time their iniquity had an end. And we know, right, going back up here, it says perpetual hatred. Perpetual meaning infinite. It will never end. And that's why when they say forget about slavery, they want you to forget so that they can continuously and perpetually do you dirty. And every time you bring it up, they say forget about it. And then when you bring up the current atrocities, they tell you to forget about it as well, because they have perpetual hatred and have no intentions on giving you any kind of justice or any kind of love. It's nothing but hatred, perpetual hatred. They have to meditate upon these things that's being said. These is pretty deep and heavy. They have a perpetual hatred. That's why they continuously just kill us and we get no justice. And they shed our blood. Verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Most High Power Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So they don't hate blood. They love spilling blood. They love shedding blood. So the Most High say they pursue after blood to spill it. So blood's going to pursue them. That's a scary thought. And blood's going to pursue them, because they don't care about they don't think they don't have a second thought about spilling and shedding blood, and they justify it. Verse 7, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men. And Mount Seir is going to be slain with nothing but dead bodies. In thy hills and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. And that hasn't happened yet. That's about to happen in the end times. Because the word shall appear. And blood shall pursue thee in verse 6. So, even blood shall pursue thee. So that's going to be, shall is a future tense. So it's going to happen in the future, in the end times here. Verse 9, I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return. That's that most in Malachi 1 and 3 and 4. The Most I say, Edom say that they will build, but the Most I will throw down. So the cities are not going to return. And ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Because thou hast said, these two nations, who is those two nations? The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. When we split, that's when we split into two nations. And these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it. Whereas the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai was there because they took over our land. They're in it right now, and they're fighting with the Pakistanians or the Arabs, and fighting them over there in Palestine, and that's the Northern Kingdom territory. So they came in, they went over there and took it over, and it even extends over here to the land that the Northern Kingdom, so-called Latinos and Native Americans, were over here, and they took these lands too. And so we'll drop down to verse 15. And thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, because Most High had kicked us out of the land for being wicked. And they rejoiced and took it over. And now they got a pink city over in Tel Aviv, pink city, for that same gender activity. And they have the parade celebrating it, right? The biggest parade on earth is over there in Tel Aviv. The biggest same gender parade. Because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea. So that lets you know who Seir is and Idumea. Idumea is the Greek word. It's the Greek version of Edom. Idumea. See Edom right there. Boom, Edom. Edom, red. Edom, Edomite. Idumea, descendants of Esau. The land of Edom, Idumea, land south and southeast of Palestine. So that's the so-called white race. O Mount Seir and all Idumea, even all of it. And they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai. So like I said, I hope this video is edifying. Leave the links to the articles in the description. The water to the Rachak Kodash, Bahasham Yahushai. Hope this video is edifying. Till the next video I say, Shalom.